The marathon distance is truly legendary in the world of running, but the good news is with the right training, anyone can complete it. In today's video, I'll be guiding you through your first marathon. There's a reason why the marathon distance is regarded as one of the most toughest endurance challenges, and that's because it is so hard to complete. However, once you get to that finish line, it is such a rewarding feeling. Now, ideally, before you sign up to your marathon, you're going to want to have a good background as a runner. So this can mean having ran in the past year between 20 and 40 kilometers per week, or it can also mean having completed shorter distances like a 10 kilometers or a half marathon, all whilst having a balanced diet as well. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously pick the date of your marathon. Now, there are so many out there ranging from flats to hilly and even some off-road marathons too. One thing to bear in mind is the date that you're going to be competing. For example, if it's in the autumn, then you're going to be training in the summer, which means hot conditions. If it's in the spring, then you're going to be training through winter, and so you're going to have to adapt your training as well. As you embark on your marathon training challenge, then ideally you're going to want to have between 12 and 14 weeks as preparation. Anything less than that and you won't necessarily have enough time to adapt to all of the gains that you have made during this period. One thing to bear in mind as well is recovery and training in a progressive manner is obviously super important. That's why you might have often heard that when we do go about training, there's a 3-week build period followed by a 1-week rest period. Now, during that 1-week rest, you don't want to completely do nothing. It's important to keep the body ticking over by just doing some gentle exercise, allowing all the gains that you've made during the previous 3 weeks to occur, and then you should be ready to start the next block of training. Once you get to about 2 weeks from your marathon, then you're going to want to do what's called a taper. This basically means that you're going to be reducing the volume in order to assimilate all of the gains that you've hopefully made in the past weeks of training. Although you'll be training less, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to reduce the intensity, because doing repetitions at around marathon pace will just help you to keep the body going and make sure that you're all ready to go come race day. In the final days, you can do some repetitions, and that can range anywhere from 3 to 1 kilometers. One top tip though is to rest up. It can be really hard sometimes to allow yourself to rest when you've been doing all this training, but just be confident in everything you've done and enjoy race day. One of the first things that you're going to want to do as you start your marathon preparation is to actually try and define what pace you're going to be running at. Now, yes, the aim is obviously to progress over the weeks of your training. However, to have this pace in mind, you can then set your training off of that. We're talking about 75 to 80% of your maximal aerobic speed, and that also translates to 75 to 80% of your heart rate max. When you get to between 5 and 6 weeks before the big day, the marathon, you're ideally going to want to try and test out your race pace. So yes, this can be done in a race situation like a half marathon, but also if you don't want the pressure of racing, then you can just do this over, for example, 15 kilometers. What it's also going to enable you to do is really test out your race equipment and combine that with all of the hydration and fueling strategy that you're going to want to have come the marathon. And one final thing, it's obviously going to give you a massive confidence booster if you're able to hit that marathon pace. During your training for a marathon and in the final weeks of your preparation, there are obviously a lot of demands on your body. This can mean an increased risk in injury, and there are a few tips to try and avoid this. One is to do what's called prehab, which basically means either doing strength training so that your body can take on the demands of running, but also just checking up with your osteo or physio on a regular basis to make sure that your body is all good to go. So remember, in those final weeks, try and prioritize these 3 things: sleep, rest, and a balanced diet. You're now ready for your next race. Thanks for watching this video, and if you want to see more sports-related topics, then you can check out Decathlon's YouTube channel or head over to their website for their sports advice blog. Remember to enjoy the experience and have fun.